conditions and other risk events that happen in software. That's our creativity as engineers.
Okay. Got it. So let's go to the skill that you were talking about. Apart from being creative, you were mentioning that there should be some skills that the engineers should have. So can you name a skill that was there 5 years ago and you think now it's outdated or irrelevant?
So I think any skill that required you to know a specific language and be very good at that single language is now, that depth of skill is irrelevant. So in testing, take, for example, being able to write test cases in that particular style or format. That was a significant skill. It took a lot of time to learn and to get the habits because it didn't fit nicely into a natural way of speaking. And so that was a skill that many people developed and struggled hard to get the hang of. And now AI does that for us. Mm-hmm. You have to have an idea of what it should look like, so you check it's right. But you'll focus more on the content, not on the skill of creating the structure.
Okay. But if I want to contradict a bit here, right? So you remember mainframe, mm-hmm. and there are banks that still have it, yep. Because mainframe is more secure than all the latest. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if in case there would be one skill that would, tread past everything and say, look like mainframe in next 5 years, what would that be? I mean, it's not a skill, like it's a technology that would be there.
I think it's all those language skills.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, everything's going to hang around a little bit. Things don't go away overnight. You look back to the Industrial Revolution when farm labourers moved into the cities to get jobs because machinery was coming into the farms. That didn't happen overnight, and it took time. And we still have farmers. We still need people to run those farms. We just have fewer of them. So in places, those skills are going to stay and be needed, but in the majority, they're going away.
Yeah. I'll just present the analogy. Like I was seeing on movie where it was older days in the UK, where there would be a lightman who would manually go and light at the evening, and in the morning he'll climb the ladder. So we are in the phase where software engineering shifting, and we all look like a lightman. Right now, we are still figuring out whether I should still be switching off that light in a ladder, or I have a switch and I just switch it off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you're a light man lighting that and your job starts to go away, seeing that happen and working out when to move to something else and how to move to something else is really, really difficult.
Yes.
Because what you see inside the experience, if you like, is your job being taken away, and it's really hard to see what else is out there and how that's going to move. And I think the same thing will happen in engineering. It will be easy to see slightly changed technical jobs. Okay, so you could be an engineer now and move to being maybe an architect, or an engineer that drives the agents, and trying to just produce more. I think that's a mistake. I think there's a value in not trying to produce more, but understand where your value is, produce differently. And I guess we maybe drift off the topic a little bit, but what I mean by that is, as an engineer, you're given tasks to execute. There's a whole flow of process that gets tasks to the engineer to get done. And the easy answer is to try and do more and be a faster engineer. I think the right answer is to work out how you become a different sort of engineer. Like people have for a long time talked about engineers becoming managers. That's shorthand for that change. It's not quite going to be like that, but it's the idea there is a different role there that you have to go and find.
Right. Okay. So we talked about the past. Now let's talk about the future. So it's 2030 and we're all there. So what do you think an engineer would be spending his daily time on?
I think the engineer spends his daily time taking ideas or needs from the customer and very closely to the customer, maybe directly from the customer or in partnership with a product person, and translates those into language that the AI system can understand, and validates the output that's coming back to iterate, course correct the AI system. So they work in partnership. There's a pairing, it's kind of a partnership. I don't know how large that volume is. I think again back to the industrial kind of change where start with the work that a machine could do was quite limited, but it was definitely faster than a single person. And over time that's got bigger. You know, we invented robots that were more flexible, and that meant that output of a single person grew again. And then, you know, multi-axis machining a milling machines, they're more flexible again, and that multiplied the capability of a single person. I think the same thing will happen in software development. We don't know what those innovations are that multiply the person, but there's definitely this person machine relationship that together are a multiplier of where they are now. And I think at the pace we're going at, in 5 years, we've probably gone through 3 or 4 of those multiplying events. But there is almost a limit to how fast we can do that. So the things I think will go away over that time, though, is operational kind of support and management of those systems. I think the machine can do that largely for us. Not quite yet, but I think it will come. And I think architecture standards, we think about that as an important part of building guardrails right now. I think in 5 years' time, we'll accept that we've codified that as well as possible into the system. Why would we fight the system? You know, so I think right now we tell the machine how our code is. 5 years' time, our code will move to align with the standards that we've effectively agreed as an industry and have been codified into the machine. And that movement will allow us to be more flexible. It's a standardization. Again, I think back to industrial change. That was a necessary. Like, when you start and everybody builds their nuts and bolts differently, and you know, they're putting things together specifically for that system they're building, there was a necessary standardization so that things could swap across and change more easily, and we became more adaptive. I see that there will be a standardization of that sort of thing. So in software, it's a standardization of how we write software, you know, what uses camel case, how variables are named. You know, that sort of standardization makes software much more fungible, which makes it more maintainable for the machine, but it makes it easier for our people to move across and look at different software and become less ingrained to a specific thing, which means that we can all move and use our talents more easily and more effectively. And gone are the days of spending 6 months learning a new piece of software when you move into a new team. That just goes away.
Yeah, I can see the shift even now. You just put your code into the AI, and AI is able to comprehend and tell you what it is about. So yeah, I can see the shift even now. It's language agnostic, as you said. But among these things, are 2 points I wanted to talk about. I mean, go in depth. So when you said AI can manage, right? Um, I do see there would be people who would be managing these AI agents, right? Like an orchestrator. And when there are people, there would be people to manage them. So I'm not disagreeing with you, but the number of people who would be managing these, they would have the skills to manage both the AI and the which gets intelligent day by day, and
Yeah.
people who are able to orchestrate the AI. But and another skill I think that we want to emphasize is communication. Because um, when we are talking with developers, it's a different language, right? You say what we have to do, but then when we are thinking in the product perspective, when we want to go in depth and develop, and you either directly communicate with the clients or you work very closely with the product people, you are cutting out a layer, and that means everybody essentially who want to get through this wave of AI, uh, as an AI engineer or a product engineer, should develop their communication skills, right? They have to talk business. They have to talk.
Yeah. And I think you clarified it at the end, but it's not just communication skills. It is that shift from talking engineering to talking product and talking business, becoming more connected to the business.
Yes.
Yes, that chain of instruction that is the current product process and software development process collapses down to two people talking to each other at most. And when we say we talk about the language of business, it's being able to understand what somebody means when they talk about value, return on investment, application of capital, whatever it is thinking about that, but also understanding what a customer might mean when they start talking about their workflow, their systems. So you can pick up and understand that. And that requires skills in listening, in that skill of taking new ideas and converting them into something and making them understandable. So that's a skill that we can learn by looking at new ideas frequently. I think there are other skills in that space. What we don't have to learn is we don't have to learn the knowledge of business, like the information skill. We don't have to go out and go, okay, I need to know business, so I need to learn all this language. Or I need to know product development, so I have to learn it like we were at school. I don't think that's the future. I think piling more knowledge into us isn't the future. Piling in the skills to ingest other people's ideas, comprehend them quickly, and be able to be opinionated about them. It's really important. I think the other piece that's hard to articulate is there's two. There's sort of having an idea of what the target state is in your mind and holding that in your mind. And in the past, we've always sort of relied on the BA or the product owner would take that idea of the target state and then they'd spend a few weeks trying to write it down and we'd pass that around. And it's never quite the same. But collaboratively gaining that idea of the target state, and your job is to make it so with the AI. And so the skill of communications, skill of taking complicated ideas and articulating them through graphics, through text, through voice, whatever it is. And these are skills that we learn and are skills that we can practice. At university, some universities will teach things like taking a long piece of work and consolidating and summarizing it. Now, obviously, you don't have to actually do that anymore because the AI will do that. But the skill of being able to take all the ideas in a long piece of work and kind of collate them in your mind to be able to push them out, that's the skill that you're going to need. You're just not going to do the task of doing it in writing anymore. You're going to a lot more take ideas, collect those ideas, formulate them into a structure that can be created into software. That's the creative phase, and then output them through